The air was thick with the sound of crickets and muffled laughter, the kind that seemed to drift endlessly across the open fields. Maple Creek Farm, with its towering barn and sprawling pasture, was lit up like a carnival. String lights hung from trees and the barn's rafters, casting a warm glow over the chaos below. Ryan stood at the edge of the barn's entrance, surveying his handiwork. Inside, the music pulsed, shaking the wooden beams as a crowd of teenagers danced in wild abandon. The smell of freshly trampled hay mingled with that of spilled punch and the faint tang of sweat. Kate lingered by the fence near the house, her arms crossed tightly as she watched the barn from a distance. Her friend Lisa stood beside her, gesturing animatedly toward the party, her excitement unmistakable. Kate hesitated, biting her lip, before Lisa grabbed her wrist and pulled her forward. Inside, the barn felt like another world. Couples moved to the beat. Friends leaned close to yell over the music, and someone had balanced precariously on a stack of hay bales to hang a disco ball that spun slowly, casting tiny reflections across the room. Joe leaned against the far wall, his back pressed to the rough wood, a cup in his hand. His eyes followed the chaos, pausing occasionally to take in the unfamiliar faces. His posture was easy, but his expression held a trace of detachment, as though he was a spectator rather than a participant. Kate's gaze landed on Joe, and for a moment she froze. Her fingers tightened around Lisa's arm, but her friend was already gone, melting into the crowd. Kate exhaled sharply, her shoulders rising and falling as she took a tentative step forward. Suddenly, a bark echoed through the barn. Heads turned as Rusty, the family dog, darted inside, his tail wagging furiously. Behind him came 3 goats, their hooves clicking against the wooden floor. The music faltered as laughter erupted. Joe set down his cup and pushed off the wall, moving toward the chaos. Kate hesitated, then followed, her steps quick but unsure. Together, they steered the goats back through the barn doors, their movements fluid but uncoordinated. Joe pointed toward the pasture, and Kate nodded, her hands fluttering as she helped guide the animals. Outside, the air was cool and still. The goats bleated softly, their panic subsiding as Rusty circled them once before sitting proudly by the fence. Joe leaned on the gate, catching his breath, his lips curling into a faint smile as he glanced at Kate. She met his gaze, her face flushed, and they exchanged a small nod, the kind that said more than words ever could. Back at the barn, the music resumed, louder and more chaotic than before. Lisa was already recounting the goat incident to anyone who would listen, her hands mimicking the wild chase. Kate lingered by the fence with Joe, their silhouettes framed by the distant glow of the barn lights. The party carried on, but for them, the quiet of the night seemed far more captivating.